Okay, so Poe's never heard the story before. This I call this the spoon in the oil story. I think this if I happen to die in the next 1 year, this is the story I want you to remember full from me. So here's the background on the story. So this is like in ancient times. I'm sure there's many renditions of it. There's a Chinese version, the
Yeah.
Middle Eastern version, but we'll just call it the China version. There's this guy, he's travels to the village. Obviously, this happened a long time ago when people lived in villages. He stumbled into town. He asked everybody, like, hey, where can I find the secret to life? What's this all about? And then everybody's, you got to go up to the top of the hill. So the guy goes up there. He talks to the wise man and he says, hey, everybody told me that you have the secret to the life and all this. And this guy's, he's obviously very wealthy, very well respected. He has a big castle on top of the mountain that overlooks the village. And the wise man says, okay, yeah, sure. I'll show you what it's all about. So he brings out a spoon and he puts oil in the spoon. So they got a lot of it around. And he says, well, okay, you got to put this spoon in your mouth. And he says, okay, now go walk around my castle. And his castle's huge, right?
Yeah.
Walk around the castle and don't drop the oil. And then the guy says, stupid, right? Spoon, an egg in the spoon, how the kids play. They walks around the castle doing this. Must take some like 20, 30 minutes to do, right? And he comes back and he didn't drop very much. He has most of the oil there, right? There are only a couple places where he missed them. And he comes back and he's like, all right, I did your stupid thing. He didn't say that. But he's like, all right, here I pass. Here's the oil. Here's most of it. What's the secret? And then the old man's, you did a good job. I see most of the oil here. Hey, just curious, did you like, we just trimmed the hedges and we just gardened the west and we put the new statues on the east. And did you happen to see that stuff? I'm curious. And then the young guy's, no, I was doing this stupid oil thing, trying not to trip and fall. And then he's, okay, but you know what? It took me a lot of effort to put that stuff up. I paid the guys a lot to do that. And he's like, can you, I'm not messing with you, man, but I just need you to go do this one more time. But this time, can you at least give me some feedback on my gardening? So the guy puts the spoon back in his mouth, refills it with more oil, and he does the trick again. He comes back, it takes him a little bit longer this time. Hey, so what did you think about all that stuff that you missed the first time? Oh, yeah, it was cool, right? I had all these statues, there are animals and fish and everything. And then the old man says, that's the secret to life. Is he going around by having as much oil in the spoon when you come back, but also appreciating the cool things that are around the castle, right? So this is a metaphor for life in terms of the oil is like making money or achievement, right? You only got one time around the castle. I think a lot of us focus a little bit too much on getting the oil back to the old man, right?
Right.
And as opposed to taking in on the sights of the castle. I told you I went to New Zealand, right? We did this great escape race. So for 4 hours, they gave us a car and we went around this island on this scavenger hunt. It reminded me of this oil and the spoon story. They gave us laundry list of things to do. We were challenging our other friends in the other van. We had to take pictures of all this stuff. And it was just a blur. We're just trying to get everything done and win, right? Similar to like the spoon and the oil. We didn't really have time. Like one of the things was like take a picture of us playing frisbee golf. Like we didn't play frisbee golf. We just threw the damn frisbee and took the picture and moved on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Still a fun time, but it reminded me of the story. Like the goal is, I think my takeaway of the story is like you have to balance the two. So
I like that. I think, avoiding the trap of delaying all your happiness until retirement. This is something that a lot of our listeners probably could relate to. For many of us listening to podcasts like this, we can let our obsession with financial security take over a bit too much, and that can rob you of the joy that life is supposed to provide. But at the same time, you don't want to go so far to the other extreme where all you're doing is like just chasing pleasure, being like a hedonist, ignoring like financial responsibility and the things that you need to do to prepare for life.
yeah, it's a hard trade-off. I think if you're a business owner, in a way, you're thrown into the water and you have to go 100%. Or do you? I don't know. That's what I'm struggling
Yeah.
with, right? It's hard to really go 80% and enjoy the scenery when you're fighting for your life as a first generation business owner.
Yeah.
Maybe, if you have a job, even jobs are, very stressful too,
Mm.
I think, especially in high paid
Sure.
professionals.
Yeah.
But I think that's a hard thing, right? There's a hard, steady state of a cruise control or something,
Mhm.
or you're in cruise mode, enjoying things, yet
Yeah.
still having enough to keep oil in the spoon.
Correct. Yeah. I think it's a tough balance to strike, especially when you're starting off on that journey and like you're grinding away. I feel like for a lot of us, myself included, if you're younger and hungry, you might take certain things for granted. You might take for granted that, hey, I have time. I have health now. I can afford to grind away. But the reality is, none of us knows what tomorrow will bring. None of us knows we've pulled in the genetic lottery in terms of will we come down with some severe illness tomorrow or the next week. None of us know. Um,
And there's a season in life, like I was never home in my 20s, never really did happy hour with
mm.
coworkers. I didn't have that in my life. And it's one of my regrets that I'll never have the opportunity to do that again.
And that reminds me of that book by Bill Perkins, Die with Zero, right? Where he talks about maybe rethinking some of what we've been taught, right? Which is to grind away when you're younger, delaying that gratification. Because, like you said, you're not getting that time in your 20s back, right? But in many ways, that's when you're at the peak of your energy. You have much less responsibilities than once you have kids and a family and other obligations. The 20s, that's like a perfect time to go travel the world and do all these crazy things that you've always wanted to do because that chance may never come again.
Certainly when you're 80s and 90s,
Yeah.
people won't be around.
And I think I remember him talking about when you're in your 80s or 90s, it doesn't matter how many billions of dollars you have. You can go to the nicest ski resort, but you're not going to be able to do 20 runs, right? Like a 20-year-old. No way. Doesn't you can throw all the money you want at it, but it's not happening. That chance is gone.
That's the traditional speak, is the in your 20s and 30s, you grind at it. In your
Yeah.
40s and 50s, you step back a little bit. And then by the time you're 60s, people want you out of the workforce and out of
Yeah.
it already. When you apply the Bill Perkins method on top of it, it's somewhat complete throws this upside down.
Hmm.
I think the way I look at it is blend a little bit of each of those three phases. I still think of it as grind in the earlier part of your life, cruise a little bit more on the end. It's the law of compound interest, right?
Yeah.
Unless you grow it have something to grow in the beginning, you got nothing to compound by the
Yes.
end. So I think I blend the two in my head.
Yeah. It's finding that balance, right? And balancing being aware of your surroundings, appreciating beauty, but also don't lose sight of the fact that, yeah, you got a spoon with oil in it that you're not supposed to
Yeah.
spill.
So I guess in the spirit of this story, to get maybe a little nuance, like the last 5 years of your life and the next 5 years of your life, to really break this down a little bit, what is something that you are going to start doing or stop doing in the spirit of this?
One thing that in the past year I've been pretty intentional about is taking the time to admire and appreciate what's around me and just having more fun, living more in the present. Whereas for most of my life, I've always been focused on what's next and what's the next thing to achieve. Yeah, it's definitely something I am very mindful of now is to really try to be in the present. Do have fun, laugh more, enjoy relationships with people. Don't take anything for granted. While I still have a lot of goals that I want to achieve, it's taking stock that, hey, I've actually come really far, right? Doesn't mean the journey has ended, but it's okay to give yourself a pat on the back and enjoy the fruits now instead of waiting till later. Because if you wait till later, some of those fruits are going to be, they're going to go bad.
So,
They're going
so
to
what's
bad.
something in like your 20-year-old self would look at you today and call you lazy in a certain thing you do today?
The 20-year-old self, they're looking at myself today. Number one, I don't have a 9 to 5 job. But yeah, I think my 20-year-old self would probably look at myself now and be like, man, why aren't you working more?
Yeah. I know just like maybe 5 years ago, I would always work on the weekends, at least
Hmm.
8 hours, 12 hours. But sometimes I don't even touch the computer on a Saturday. So that's certainly changed in the last 5 years with kids. I think we were talking about it earlier in terms of financial planning. If I can just sock away X amount and make a 5% return on it, at least I'm aware of what that number is. I'm not there yet, but I know what that number is and I'm guiding towards that exit. It's not infinite anymore. The goal
Mm,
is not infinity.
yeah. That's huge to have clarity like that. And once you have clarity, it's not this sort of endless path of striving, right? Because if you don't have that clarity, then you never know how much is enough. Yeah. And I think that's when life and all the beauty around it can just flow right past you because you're trying to find that, like, where's the endpoint? Where's the endpoint? I'm just going to keep going. Keep climbing that mountain without really knowing what exactly am I going for.
Yeah, like it's not just find something, love it, mama mentality. No, it's
Yeah.
not quite that in a lot of cases. There's an end to things
Yeah. Yeah.
sometimes, or a titrate point down to a lower degree.
Like, this is a great story. I think it'll resonate with a lot of our listeners.
There's many goals in life, but generally speaking here, there's two goals to think about, the achievement and the fulfillment side. And we're all walking around with a spoon in our mouth. Are you getting what you want out of both?
And how do we find that balance, right? Like, how do we enjoy some of those luxuries today while still also planning responsibly for tomorrow?
Yeah. Another thing that I'll point out too is around this guy's castle. Again, this is the metaphoric viewpoint of it. He had a lot of different things. He had statues, he had animals, he had plants. Not everything tickled the guy's fancy, right? The guy walking around the castle. Some people like to grow businesses. Some people like to have families, but it's not for everybody.
Mm.
I think it's important to figure out what those certain things are around your castle and to shoot for the things that resonate with you.
Not everyone should or need to build this big business. Some people intentionally prioritize. Some people may realize, hey, I'm not going to prioritize going so much after financial success, but hey, maybe I really like fishing or I really like spending time like mountain biking. Right? Yeah.
I really like traveling, or another guy may not like traveling, or whatever is your thing.
And then they just make enough to really do that hobby that they love. And there's nothing wrong with that type of approach. In fact, that can be quite enviable because they're enjoying what they're doing from the very beginning and they have this clarity to them, right? It's not this mindset of, I can only give myself permission to relax and have fun once I've hit this grand goal, right? They're doing it from the start.
Anyway, that's my story.
It's a good
Hopefully I
one.
don't die this next year and I'll come up with another story. I know you got a story we'll do on a future podcast. That's it for this week, guys. If you guys have heard other fun fables like this that resonated with you, let us know. We can share it with everybody else. But yeah, thanks for listening.